Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting adventure here at Blaster Pro. With us, as usual, Charles Blaster Pro Craig.
Hello, everybody.
And I am not Matt.
We've actually, we're petitioning right now to have Matt put on the back of milk cartons because we really don't know where he is, and we have not seen him for weeks.
I did talk to him today. He asked if we could simulcast him from Philadelphia.
Does he want a simulcast?
He didn't answer when I said I'm on it.
Wrong Matt. Matt.
Hi, Matt.
So how was your weekend?
I survived it with the kids.
When were you here last?
Wednesday.
Was that Wednesday?
That was Wednesday.
I can't remember
anything. It was
anything.
you, me, and Jeff.
It was you, me, and Jeff. Oh, yeah, that's right. Jeff sat right here. And
we did work and he watched.
And he talked. He constantly talked without stopping. Hey, Jeff. While we worked. No, He didn't talk constantly. Stop. You remember that commercial where the guy puts a little girl in the car and she's talking. You shut the door and it's perfectly quiet. And then open the door again.
I have daughters. I don't have to watch the commercial.
You know what? It's kind of dark in here. What's missing? Oh, that light over there is missing.
I gotta get up.
You don't have to get up. We'll just leave it dark. Anyway, we have been. I had a great weekend. I did almost absolutely nothing. I couldn't get anything accomplished. I tried for 5 minutes and then nothing. I mean, I can talk nonstop. No, you don't have to. You did actually. You actually helped a little bit, didn't you, Jeff? Kept count of the many ounces I poured. Was that when we poured the helmets?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And I grabbed the wrong nuts to go on the screws. And
hey, Straka. Yeah. Yes, you should have had wing nuts. Did we use my wing nuts?
Yeah, we used your wing nuts because I didn't have wing nuts.
Yeah. So yeah.
And then I grabbed the wrong side. I'm like, this doesn't fit, derp.
Hey, Jeff, I've been meaning to tell you. I've been 3D printing. I got the two i3 Megas, Huey and Dewey, up and running again, and I got the big Anycubic up and running again. And so I've got right now 4 3D printers running upstairs. But anyway, I've been doing, you know how when you did your dome, your R2 dome, you did the low section, the mid section, and the top. I'm using the files with the mid and the low and mid sections all together. So my pie pieces are like that tall. It's actually working out pretty good, even in ABS. I'll probably have the last piece will be printing tomorrow. I'll start printing it. It actually might be done by tomorrow evening. Then I can start assembling a dome.
Don't use a heat gun.
I will use a heat gun, but I know how to responsibly use a heat gun. Yeah, Jeff, it is so far, it's so much easier, and I'm going to have half the seam lines that you did. Yeah, it's going good. You'll actually see, I'll have the pieces probably down here tomorrow night, cleaning them up and getting them ready to glue together.
Yeah, I guess I got to finish one project so I can start the R5.
Well, yeah, and you, yeah. See, here's the problem, though. So far, we've been doing really good on your projects because your projects kind of get to a certain point, and it's not really like I give up. It's more of a,
holy crap, how do we do this?
I'm going to take a break from this, and then you never get back to it. You have a whole locker full of unfinished projects going over the last, although the E11 did kind of get finished.
For Halloween.
Yeah, that was, yeah. Regardless, you're doing much better on your projects.
I wouldn't say I'm focused, but I've learned.
And I'm doing much better too. I'm getting a lot of things done that I've been struggling to get to forever. And it's actually kind of feeling good that it seems like I'm getting out of this mess, this haze I've been in, and trying to get things done, but not sure. You ever go and start working on something and then you realize the one thing you're working on is the last thing you should actually be doing?
This is why we haven't started the pulse rifle.
No, we haven't touched the pulse. We're not doing any Colonial Marine stuff for a while until all the blaster projects are back online. Then they'll have to be after the Mandalorian build and also after what's the other one? Mandalorian. Oh, and for me after the R2. Although the R2 probably will be a side project all the time, so it'll just keep getting bumped.
And bigger and bigger and bigger and more lights. And
I'll make more
beeping
parts.
noises.
I'll glue a bunch of parts together, and then I'll take the dome to work and let the dome sit. And anytime I have a little bit extra spray primer, I'll shoot the dome. So I have not started printing any of the pie pieces or panels or anything. The data displays, none of that stuff's been printed yet. I'm not even moving towards that yet. But you, your biggest thing, we'll talk about it here in a minute. But Etsy is still getting super busy. I'm averaging probably about an order or two a day right now, which is good. And pretty soon, those orders in the next week or so, probably maybe within the next week or so, those orders are going to start increasing even to 2 or 3 orders a day. And I'm thinking probably by the first or second week of December, I'm going to cut all orders off for Christmas. Anything after this point, it's a gamble. Remember one year, post office, year before last, the post office cut the guaranteed delivery date at December 11th. And I had everything out by December, I think it was December 7th.
Was it last
Pearl
year?
Harbor Day. No, well, it may have been last year. Or it was the year before when I was super busy, super busy around Christmas time. And what happened was I had everything out before the end of the first week of December that were Christmas orders. And some of those orders never even showed up until January. One order didn't show up. It was mailed on December 4th or 5th and didn't show up at its destination until January 14th. I was like, wow. So anyway, let's talk about the contest. This month's contest, we are going to be playing for it'll be on the 29th. We're going to be playing for the DL-21. And I'm going to actually throw in a little bit of a twist to this. You'll have the choice. The winner of the blaster will have a choice of having it as a Hoth version or the Empire Strikes Back version. Yeah, I'm going to do it. It'll be one or the other. You can have your pick.
I got an idea for a future pro.
What's that?
Well, when we get the test one done and painted up and everything, why not a Bush helmet?
Yeah. We could actually probably even just do this one since this was a test.
Yep. I got to figure out the greeblies and lights and the...
Someone told me, or I was watching somewhere that maybe in the Boba Fett. I can't remember which one it was. No. It was on the original Han and Carbonite. I was watching tested, and he said those were cathode tubes, or what is called the tubes were the like a Nixie tube.
Okay, I know what Nixie tubes are.
Okay, it was like a Nixie tube. Those were Nixies that were in the they used Nixies in the original ESB Han and Carbonite.
I can't find Nixies right now.
You can't. There was a guy that was buying them up. The only ones that were still around were in Eastern Europe, and these guys were buying them up.
Yeah, you could find them out of Russia and stuff like that.
So
for a
they were
while.
buying them up. They bought them up, and they've been selling alarm clocks made with Nixie tubes
Now
for like $500.
I can make fake Nixies.
You can, and there's actually a guy now, a company that's now manufacturing brand new Nixie tubes.
Those are got to be expensive. Though,
it's 100 labor hours per tube right
Yeah,
now because it's
they're
not mass
vacuum
produced.
tubes. Yeah.
So, dude, the technology is awesome. I love looking at them, and I've looked at buying a Nixie clock, and I'm thinking, holy cow, they start at like $400 or $500 just because the tubes are so rare. But anyway. So yes, the contest, and we'll be playing Family Feud. I like playing Family Feud. Was it Family Feud? Yes, it's Family Feud. We're gonna play.
Not pin the tail on Matt.
Not pin the tail on Matt. Who knows? Matt may not even be back by then.
I thought we were. Wait, I thought we were going to do contest.
Matt is missing.
I'm gonna make like a have you seen this Matt?
We need a milk carton.
I'll make like a fake poster and have a picture of you pull up. Have you seen this man?
Get the picture of him with the ring pop.
I'll have multiple photos at the bottom as well. Different reference photos from Matt.
That is funny, the ring pop photo. That's one of your favorite too.
Yeah, it's because it's funny, and I use it when I want to. I purposefully.
I remember that night. It's like I got candy right over here. It's like, oh really? I was like, yeah, we got ring pops.
And then you gave me the con cam, and that was dumb.
I know. You know what? See, here's the thing about the Speederbike squat. That is one that you have to use sparingly because that is such a great picture that you can't wear it out. So I haven't used it at all No, I think we used it once this year. Yeah, we did when we were doing the old when we were going back over. I made a point to go back to that picture. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, the DL-21, have you seen this boy? You saw it. It's a Terminator 2. Actually, it's a Wayne's World. Yeah, look at you, man. I raised him right.
Wow, I didn't get that right away.
Wayne's World?
See, near the tail end of the movie.
Yeah.
I failed.
Do you know the song is playing right there?
I forget.
It's called Time Machine by Black Sabbath. Ronnie James Dio, Black Sabbath.
Time Machine. Yeah.
Wayne's World. Anyway, so that's kind of Wayne's World. We have a lot in common with Wayne's World. Public access down in a creepy basement.
That basement is not creepy.
You like that basement?
Channeling, I think.
Yeah, it's like straight out of the
Party on,
the
Chuck.
60s and 70s. Party on, Rodney. I guess you're Garth. Sucking my will to live, man. You okay over there? All right. So anyway, the DL-21, this will be a rare time that you will, this will be a rare instance where the winner of the DL-21 will get to pick whether he wants the Hoth version or the Lieutenant Wren's Return of the Jedi version. It'll be easy to modify. The reason why is I am going to be doing both versions of it because it's going to be used to put the DL-21 back up. Back up on Etsy. What'd Jeff say? Someone brought in a box yesterday as part of our potluck since I didn't know what was in it. Of course, did what?
7 is a great film. We should probably build all the props from that.
Oh, no, we're not going to build any props from 7. No.
We could make our own version of 7.
No. So anyway, here is progress on the DL-21. This is actually how it's now going to be cast. This is it'll be cast with the handle in place, just about like it is. I'm going to do a little more straightening on it, but it is. What's wiggling?
Why is it rattling?
Oh, it's actually the grip that's rattling. It just held on with 2-inch double-sided tape. But actually, the double-sided tape is what I'm actually going to use to attach it for casting. I was like, what the heck? This thing is full of silicone. Nothing should be rattling. It was just rattling. But anyway, this is it with the grip on it. Give you an idea of how I'm going to be casting it from now on. It'll be in the mold just like this. And then when it comes out of the mold, I'll pour and fill through there. But yeah.
It fell off.
It's just, like I said, it's just double-sided tape. And the fin now has a... No, not really. I could probably be commissioned to make one, or I could, yeah, or I could even be. I'm pretty much only original trilogy and the Rebellion era stuff. Nothing else. Well, in the Mandalorian.
Didn't Clark have a Revan kit at one point?
He did. Yeah. If I was going crazy on helmets once I got done, like as far as the prequels go, the Clone Wars, some Clone Wars stuff would be like, especially clone see, originally that's the way I'm too with the original stuff. I do like clones. I like clones because there's so much there's such a large range in the clones, and I kind of like, and I love the Clone Wars, the cartoons and everything. So that's why I'm building an ARC Trooper Echo. Bad Batch isn't bad. I really enjoyed Bad Batch. I enjoyed it a lot.
I was going to say, you have a wrecker you've been working on.
I am working on Wrecker. I'm building a Wrecker for Matt, and the final plan is to use that base armor as bucks for vacuum forming Wrecker armor. Like it does, yeah. But yeah, as far as original trilogy stuff, the only thing I'm probably ever going to do are clone blasters and clone armor and helmets. And then definitely want to do Bad Batch, though. I really enjoy Bad Batch, and that's why I started with Wrecker, because we have Matt's kind of like our own Wrecker down here. And then I really like sticking to the the Civil War era or the Rebellion era stuff, and then the Mandalorian stuff, which is pretty much the same as the Rebellion era. Anything Force Awakens, people ask me if I'm gonna have asked me in the past to do Poe's Blaster and this and that, or Rey's Blaster. It's like I have really no interest to do anything from those movies. Yeah. Yes, there will be. When I start making armor, everything's going to be. The plan is to make everything a lot like the AM Stormtrooper kit was, which was a kit that had a lot of extra plastic for bigger guys. That's what my Sand Trooper is. It was a no longer approvable AM kit, but it is still an older AM kit.
Now, there was one point where you were working on Scout Troopers. Are you going to do that still?
Now, Scout Troopers are kind of a funny animal, since they're already small anyway, and there's no really fully wrapping around encompassing armor pieces, except for the clamshell, the front and the back plate. So
unless you build it wrong like I did.
Did you make yours all one piece?
Well, I tried to at first, then I realized that's not how the kit went.
No, it's not how they go. Yeah.
And then I had to redo the whole thing. Remember, I had to put...
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Dude, I feel like...
I never do anything right the first time?
No, it feels like when you do a project like that, it's almost you're down here, but we're having an intervention. I don't know why it feels like that, but
hey, it passed. It passed.
It does feel like that. Husky Scout. Here's the thing: how you make a Scout work. When you're a bigger guy, you use longer straps on your shoulders and longer straps under your arms, so the armor sits lower and you allow room between, because I've seen guys that follow the tutorials and just follow by the letter, the inch, the length of the straps and everything, and they look like
they're wearing a backpack that's too small.
No, it's kind of like they look like, it looks like they're wearing a tube top. it's kind of that feeling, you know what I mean?
Now, what I had to do was, all right, so on the instructions, you have to put this belt inside of your chest piece that goes and clicks in the back, right?
Yes.
All right, so that doesn't work for being able to adjust this thing on the fly. So I ended up cutting it in the center, putting Velcro on the inside so that I can adjust it in the front.
So before we get too far off, these parts are going to be cast. I'm planning to try to get them cast either sometime this week or probably more likely over the weekend. I'm sorry. I just wanted to get that out before the plan is to have at least the new cast parts of, I would love to get this blaster built for next week's show. That's probably not going to happen, but I may have the new cast, or what might really happen is the first pull of the new mold might be on next week's show. That probably will be what I'll shoot for. And then have the finished blaster ready during the giveaway on the 29th. Yes. And when I've been working on the Scout. I've worked on it. It's all on the back burner right now. Because I got my sizing. I didn't get my sizing wrong. I got it right on the money. The problem was I actually want to go 10% bigger.
And you left your bucks by the heater and they kind of moved.
Yeah. So there's a few things that happened. But I actually have most of the kit ready to be finished. And we had other plans too, because we were going to set up a platoon of Fem Scouts at one time.
I still like that plan.
That is a great plan. We were planning to put together a Fem Scout platoon.
We were going to have
for bike nights to raise money for our charity.
And don't forget the calendar.
And we were going to have a calendar, yes.
I was going to be July.
The Patrol Trooper from... that's a cool kit. I actually saw one today online that looked good, except for the belt was totally in the wrong place, and it kind of threw me off a little bit. It looked like the belt was about ready to fall off.
As I said earlier today, apparently a lot of people aren't as rabid as we are.
Yeah, you're actually right, because, yeah.
The PH25. There's a logo on it.
We were going nuts, and he says, I don't think they used he wanted to use the one with the black lettering. And because he says, I can't find it anywhere where they used white lettering. And then he showed me a picture of what the part actually looked like. And I was like, hey, it's right there. He's like,
totally missed it. We'll go to that project in a bit.
All right. So anyway, the Speederbike, we didn't get much done on it. As if you watched last week, we have a new smelter, meaning we're going to take and replace all the wooden parts with aluminum castings. We're going to remake all the parts in foam and do a lost foam casting to make replacement parts. The Speederbike has got to the point where those wooden parts just no longer are doing their job. Huh?
Hey, Tyler! I work with him.
Oh, you do? I thought you were reading along.
I kind of.
So, anyway, after that, next week we will have, hopefully, I got a lot going on this week. Hopefully we will have some updates, maybe some foam sculpted parts. Definitely next week, I am going to bring parts of the Speederbike in here and discuss and show off maybe what we've done, what we're going to be doing. Heck, if we could fit the whole bike down here, I would, but it won't go through the door.
Well, I got something better. Who wants to see us burn ourselves trying this forge project?
You are not going to be involved, thank you. I already have a competent assistant for aluminum.
Well, who's going to film it, and who's going to accidentally dump it down their pants?
We're definitely not doing it when you're. Have you ever seen me smelt aluminum?
No, but I've done lead.
Okay.
I've done lead.
You've done lead, yes. Yes.
That's like aluminum, but different.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's what the tripod's for, Jeff. So anyway, Rodney has been working on a few projects. Since I have no Speederbike updates and no progress made on the Speederbike except for planning and talking about it and spending money. Talk is cheap. Rodney, we did this Wednesday. Jeff assisted. Thank you, Jeffrey. We finally
after months of sitting here doing nothing,
the mother mold had been done front and back for what, 2 weeks maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so
we finally got around to that.
So we finally got, since we didn't have a lot of people here last Wednesday for workshop, it was just Jeff and us.
No one loves this anymore.
We went ahead and I instructed Rodney where to drill holes, what size of holes to drill, chastise him on why the heck he didn't get wing nuts, and he was very, so I had to give him wing nuts.
I thought I bought wing nuts. I was wrong.
He didn't buy wing nuts. He bought a set of nuts and bolts. You have to go out and buy. He didn't buy wing nuts.
I thought wing nuts came in a kit.
The crucial thing.
That is the most crucial thing. The wing nut, yeah, those were my wing nuts.
Jesus, are you going to reimburse him for the wing
I
nuts?
want those wing nuts back when you're done.
Fine.
Anyway, so
Gonna reimburse him for the wing nuts, man?
he doesn't have to reimburse me. I gave him a size that I don't normally
I
use.
pay him in beer and cigarettes.
There you go. And electrical fires.
And electrical fires, yeah.
Anyway, there is the master over there. Still got all the clay and everything on it. And here is the very first cast. We did a test pull on it. It actually turned out really good. There's a little bit of
There's some cleanup.
Yeah, there's some cleanup, but the helmet itself pulled detail. Matter of fact, all the scratches and damage that's on the helmet, it's not visible on camera, but it's more visible here than it is on the original. Like on the original, they don't look like they're going to have enough detail, but
yeah, I just put those there so that we could, knew the places where they were supposed to be.
Man, this helmet, I know this is a very accurate, but this helmet is so, it's very Star Wars. It is very uneven. If you look, because it was, it was an actual sculpt originally. So yeah, I love how it's a little bit off, just like everything in Star Wars.
Just like us.
That's what made the Hayden Christensen Darth Vader look a little bit off.
Yeah, because it wasn't
at the end of Revenge of the Sith. It was a little too perfect. But anyway, we spent all last Wednesday cutting open, separating the mold, cleaning the mold, the mother mold up, and then actually figuring out if we had to cut a hole in it or cut the back of the mold, which we ended up having to do.
Well, it was more of a rip than a cut.
It ended up ripping. Yes, it did rip a little bit, but we have the rip under control. No worries. The mold performed really well, actually, and the silicone, the magnets find their home. And
yeah, in spite of my inability to follow basic instructions.
Yeah. See, now Rodney has never mastered the art of using someone else's experience to enhance his learning curve. He kind of takes all instruction and it goes in this ear and it goes out this ear and then decides to do it.
It's like about 2% stays and then the rest just leaves. And I remember that 2%. And
have you ever been to a bar and seen someone do the most cringe-worthy interpretive dance based on alcohol usually? But sometimes they're totally sober and it's still the most cringe-worthy interpretive dance you've ever seen.
Sober.
Yeah. Some of the stuff he does is just as cringeworthy. It's his own version of interpretive prop making.
But it works.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
So anyway,
It's probably Jeff.
Up next on this fun project for Rodney is he has got few greeblies that need to be remade.
Cleaned up and remade.
Yes, and then he has some other greeblies that, you know how on ABS, if you have too much airflow or if the environment's too cool for ABS, it'll lift up on the ends like so. Rodney has figured out a way to do this on resin prints, and we still do not know how he gets
the hell that happened.
these parts to warp on a resin print, but he has done this.
Magic.
It is magic.
So yeah, we got to figure out some stuff.
So yeah, there's a whole set of greeblies that are going to be made in dump molds, and there's one greebly that's the Ferrari hood.
Yeah, the Ferrari hood that I sat on.
The Ferrari hood is one of those pieces we actually don't know how we're going to make it. It may have to be a 3D print from a resin print.
Well, what I was thinking was we could make a mold with it, and then we could do like a epoxy injection into it.
Well, if it's under pressure and you
it's not really under pressure. We're just using a syringe.
Then why don't we just use resin? So you're going to have vent holes and everything for this to work properly.
Yes.
And that material is too thin. It's actually going to have to be thickened up also.
Yeah, that's what. Would resin work?
Resin would work. There is, explain what the Ferrari hood is and where it shows up on the helmet. So,
as usual in the Star Wars universe, 90% of everything is a Revel model kit. If you notice here, and if you look at the other, I went with real as opposed to they have it built into the model where you have this little piece that goes right here. Well, that's actually a Ferrari hood from a Revel model last made in the 80s.
Was it like an Indy car or what was it? Or
it was like kind of like a funny car type deal.
Okay.
And it goes right here. And it is incredibly thin.
It is very thin. That was the main problem about it. But I don't know exactly. He's never shown it to me how it fits on the helmet, how it looks. So I've really never had a chance to problem solve this piece because it is so delicate. He breaks every single one of them before they get here.
Well, if our director was on par, we could pull one up and look at it off the internet.
You never gave him any indication that this is what you wanted to look at. Don't blame the director.
I don't know what we're talking about.
He didn't know he was going to have to do research and upload more media.
No, I did not. I printed one out because you can't find them anymore, Jeff. And then I sat on it.
Yeah, this is one of those deals where you would have to go to like model shows, especially one that would is very big on vintage models, out of print model or out of production models to find that kit. And since that costume is actually not, I mean, it's a female costume, obviously, and it's a fairly expensive costume to do also. It's one of the more expensive in the, like, it's like, you know, you got Darth Vader, C-3PO, Boba Fett. You know, that's fairly expensive costume also. But it's not in such a high demand that Star Wars fans have driven up the demand for this particular model kit. That's actually not the case. It's just the fact it's a rare model kit is really the case on this one. Yeah, like shows Barry. Yeah, but see, Barry doesn't look for cars.
No.
And
Barry likes planes.
Barry likes planes, and no, not just planes, old sci-fi stuff. He likes a lot of that old stuff like that too. So,
like rockets shaped like silver bullets.
Matter of fact, I think Rodney's modeling, besides, I think he prefers modern for aircraft stuff. He actually prefers modern models because they're so much better and finer tuned than the old school. We were actually having a discussion not long ago about people talk about how great these older models were and this and that. He's like, geez, do you know how much filler and sanding and work you had to do on those old models to make them look right? Gaps you had to fill, warped parts. He's like, today's models are so much more superior and I'd rather build those.
I just remember his research where we learned about every single A10 variation that was ever created.
Jesus Christ. Everything from like just the interior modernizations to the freaking
You gotta love it though.
booms put on them. It's just
That's
so
that's
lame.
that's where his passions are.
That is the most lame thing ever.
So,
I respect it though.
so Rodney keeps bugging the hell out of me about another project.
Now that we go into full-blown rabbit hole research, yeah.
Well, I don't know if you really understood how deep in a rabbit hole I go. I think everybody got a pretty good example of it when I was researching going back into researching the A&H Hero, because I did an hour and a half one night on that blaster. Remember when we went another 2 hours one night?
Yeah, that was just me and you.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, when you go down the rabbit hole, sometimes you go way too deep, and you go. So anyway, what have you been going down the rabbit hole on?
1984 proton packs from Ghostbusters.
So you've been researching. Your phone is now full of proton pack photos.
Yes, they are. But here's the problem, right? So all the really good photos from the packs that have been on display or auctioned off, any of that stuff is all from Ghostbusters 2. Ghostbusters 1, they only had one pack that they kept from that, and that was the Peter Venkman pack. So all the castings are made from the Peter Venkman pack, and then they added stuff to it.
Now, here's a funny question. Dan Aykroyd seems like the type of person that would have kept his proton pack. You know what I'm saying? It's Hernan.
Hey, Hernan!
And I was thinking, Hernan's going to be on tonight. I know he is. I think we missed him last week. I was going to wear the hat. I had the Blaster Pro hat on earlier, and I took it off and switched it for this. Welcome, Hernan. Thank you very much. It's got a lot of mileage on it. Have I ever even told anybody the story, how I got this hat?
Was that in that care package of stuff?
Tangent!
It was in a thank you package. I had to put a hood release cable on an S10 Blazer. It broke at the handle. I had to put the handle assembly on and a new cable. And to fish that cable through this old rusty Chevy Chevy Blazer, S10 Blazer is what it was. She goes, I work at Gorilla Glue. I'm like, cool. I'll put you together a thank you package from Gorilla Glue. And I'm like, I like Gorilla Glue. We love Gorilla Glue. I said, go heavy on the super glue. Anyway, so she gives me a box. It's a Gorilla Glue box. And I guess for a while, I don't know if they still make them, but they look like Gorilla gift boxes. And you open it up, and it was just full of Gorilla Glue. She filled it full of super glue, one medium bottle of the foamy Gorilla Glue, the original Gorilla Glue, and this hat. And I've had this hat, I guess it was about, it's been well over 10 years, maybe 10, 12 years ago. Yeah.
I have a Gorilla Glue story.
Does it have to do with getting it stuck?
Yes. My oldest daughter,
Oh, boy.
when she was like 3, found my bottle of Gorilla Glue and decided that it was lotion.
Didn't that one chick use a Gorilla Glue as a hair product?
Yes. And then my ex tried to wash it off in the tub.
You don't activate it with water. All right, getting back to the proton pack.
Is that a proton pack?
Yes, it is.
This is the beginning of a proton pack. And I will tell you this right now. I am working with Rodney. I am the art texture department and he identifies the part, and then I'm trying to figure out how that part was modified to fit on the proton pack. That's kind of the realm I'm at. And I told him, I gave him a few things he needed to do. One, make a list, find out what's available still today, and purchase those pieces. And then those pieces that are not available, we will reproduce here in the workshop.
Like the Ticonderoga pencils.
The Ticonderoga pencils. Does anybody out there have any old school from
Ticonderoga pencils,
Yes.
sans serif writing, where it says Dixon Ticonderoga down the side of
Everyone
the
write
pencil.
this down and look for those for us.
We need to find those, or we need to manufacture those.
Have you looked at the internet?
Yes.
Have you found them?
No.
Okay.
I found the new ones, which has a whole different typeface, which is not
Pretty
cool.
specific.
So
Yes.
anyway,
I will continue the search.
I am going to be assisting in the manufacturing of parts and texturing and modeling. And I think, are you wanting to go? Okay, so I've seen a lot of proton packs, and I've seen most proton packs you see are clean, crisp details. And from what we've seen on the originals, they're a little bit funky. And it's very strange. The main body of the pack itself looks like they were simulating like it's supposed to look like it's cast iron.
Mm-hmm.
And that texture, I've noticed now some of the pictures.
There are two separate textures on
Now-
it, and then there's a third where they
The-
painted it with a hand brush.
Okay, now that other texture you saw, one of the other textures I saw tonight, I believe is a vacuum forming artifact. From
Oh yeah, where that
Yeah.
corner.
Yes, I
Okay,
believe it's
yeah.
a vacuum forming artifact. I've already noticed on it, and I showed it to him, that they used aluminum tape or tinfoil in a certain area, and he's like, I don't see it. And then he's like, oh, I do see it.
Mhm, where it's folded over the top.
Yeah, so we found a lot of, it's
If
kind of, if you really look at a real proton pack, they're nowhere near as nice as the ones that are out there. So I think what we ought to do, and what you should do, is you should pay homage to the original and have some of the imperfections built in, like the cast iron effect and all that. And I know how to do that. And when we get to that point, we'll
So
do
you're
it.
saying I should shut up about that and not?
You should
can we
shut
try
up
this?
about
Can
it,
we try
because you've
that?
been coming up with very idiotic ways of trying to figure out how to do it. And I already know how to do it, so don't worry about
Is
it.
it covered in glue?
No, we're not covering the glue. Okay, the glue technique, and we're talking about a spray glue technique, is the technique that you would want to recreate the speckling like on a World War II M1 helmet. How it has the speckling, the rough paint job. That's a speckle type paint job where it's designed to break up the light and not give you, even though it's painted flat, they also break up the surface on the helmet. That is very easily achieved by using spray glue at a distance, and then when the glue sets, you spray over top of it, and it looks just like it would have when they were making the helmets for World War II. Or
This is like when Matt was having me throw sand at paint.
he was trying to achieve a quickie stucco looking sand type finish.
Then he told me I was throwing too much sand.
Regardless, that part of the set we still need to burn. We didn't get it back to the burn pit that night, which is actually kind of a good thing, because we burnt a lot of stuff, and
It's been filmed.
it was filmed, and we didn't have enough of anything. I mean, you know what I mean. We didn't have the night was running long, if you know what I mean. The kids were getting a little restless after the Mando was burnt. It was kind of like wind down, you know. That was like the climax of the night.
I think I'm in agreement with you that we'll pay homage. That way that
I think that's the best thing
this
to do.
pack could be made into a Ghostbusters 1, a Ghostbusters 2, Ghostbusters Afterlife.
I think you should try to do Ghostbusters, be as true as you can to the original prop. Like there's a few areas I think the detail we should keep sharp or make sharp. Like that area where I said
boxes up top.
The box, some of those areas should be cleaned up and made sharp, but the cast iron detail should be retained. And I think, like I said, you should go half and half. You should clean up areas that just look like sloppy prop making. And there's nothing to take away from the prop makers, because the prop makers, their job was to make this as cheap as possible, as fast as possible, and as durable as possible. And they knew what the capabilities of the cameras back then were.
Mm-hmm.
Now, today's cameras are totally different. So prop making is a lot different. It is very precise. It's very clean. Lots of extra detail you would never have 20 years ago.
Like the box on the back that was cast. This was cast. It was cast like this. The box that we were talking about with the imperfection, where it looked like somebody had used aluminum foil on it. There are two circles. There's a hole in the center of one circle, and the other one still has the pan head.
But it's been
holding it in.
Been taped over or whatever.
Yeah.
That whole piece, and the reason why I think that was aluminum foil or foil tape is because you can crease and push that foil tape right along them edges. Whatever the heck that was, either it had voids and spaces that they didn't. It was a piece they threw on there, and then they covered it with the tape to either cover something up, fill up a hole, or something.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever they did, it kind of dulled down the details that they were going for.
But like you said, it didn't matter with the cameras.
No, it didn't matter. No. It just knew what the camera will see as a general shape, and it doesn't see definition and everything.
And really, the first time when you were looking at that in the movie theaters, you were just watching the lights.
All the parts to do the side panels are doing. Okay, cool.
Oh, Han and Carbonite.
Yeah, Han and Carbonite. Yeah.
Heck, what the hell?
Yeah. Another side project. One we probably will put on the show, but we just haven't quite got there yet. I did. Jeff's
Jeff's got a lineage one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he just wants to move on it, and I understand. And the boxes are really nice. The guy that makes those boxes is he's like the dude for Han and Carbonite.
You want to be the dude for
Han? I don't have as much life to devote to Han and Carbonite as this guy does. I mean, dude, this guy has gone. He's gone deep. He's gone very
beyond.
Deep. Yes.
More rabid than we are.
Well, see, here's the thing. You can be a general expert. You can be a jack of many trades, a master of none. Or you can pick one thing and be the master of the universe on that one thing. And that's what this dude has done. He is the master of the universe. I am the master of one blaster for about 10 minutes, and then I move on. I go just deep enough to get as much detail. I go as far. I go down the rabbit hole, but my feet are still sticking out. Like if I know.
Yeah, but you always go back to the rabbit hole. Oh, wait, I figured this out. And then you.
Yes, that is true. And I've decided a long time ago that there's so many people doing things at a mediocre level. It's good enough to fly. It's okay. And then I don't want to be at that level. I want to be 1, 2, or 3 steps beyond that level. But I am not going to go to the level where my prop is going to cost $700 for a DL-44. I'm not going to that level. I'm going to put in the effort to make a blaster that is screen accurate, that will sell for less than $150. That's what I'm going to do. If I keep going down the rabbit hole and spending more time and more money and more research, only thing that happens is the price goes up. So
I saw another grade too.
So I
cosplay accurate. I don't even know what the hell that means.
You see, that is wrong. That is
That doesn't make sense.
no. You're absolutely right. It doesn't.
It's cosplay accurate. What?
You mean good enough to cosplay? I don't know.
Yeah, I can do that with a bunch of foam.
Right. I want to find the perfect balance of cost and effort. I want to be happy that I didn't spend so much time on a prop that I don't feel happy selling for any less than $500. But I want someone to get something that they spent $125 or $130 on and they're totally happy with. And they're like, whoa, this blows everything else I've seen. That means there's people that operate 3 levels above me or below me that are selling the same blaster for the same price or in the same neighborhood, but it's nowhere near the quality of what I'm making. So that's kind of where I want to be. I want to be
I bought some
just
shitty
beyond
props.
the rest of the guys. I don't want to be at the head of the pack, and I don't want to be in the pack. I want to be in the middle of the pack and the head of the pack.
Well,
Because in the head of the pack, there's usually only 1 or 2 people. Like the Hanan Carbonite guy, he's at the head of the pack. I'll be 3 lengths behind him, but 3 lengths ahead of the rest of the pack, if you know what I'm saying.
But your price point from stuff that I bought, and you've seen some of the stuff that I bought, your price point fits in there, and those were really crappy things.
Well, yes, and I have seen what you've purchased and what you've purchased them for. That one helmet that you purchased, for the price that you purchased it, I would have made you a one-off of that helmet.
Yeah, but you never have time.
You're right. My time is, yeah.
I figured, hey, it's quick. They're from California.
It's
They're
not
prop
quick.
guys.
It's not quick.
No.
You know what? Everybody, if you make one prop and sell it on eBay or Etsy or wherever, you now officially can call yourself a prop maker. You can't officially say you're a good prop maker. You can say you're a prop maker. And I want to be I am a prop maker. That's really what I really kind of was doing full time before COVID. But I want to make sure that everything that I sell, when the person gets it, they're like, wow.
Yeah, this
looks
This
as
is your
good.
fault. This is your fault. This is your fault.
This is actually a nice helmet.
This is your fault.
You see what people spend money on.
Yeah, this is your fault because we wanted to. If we were talking about it, and I needed to do something for my daughter, and my friends,
It's not my fault.
And then we were like, you know what? That's a cool helmet.
So yeah, actually, Jeff, you're right. The guy that reviewed my blaster, what was that, over a year ago?
Half-fast reviews.
What's that?
Half-fast reviews, I think.
Half-fast or half-assed?
I don't remember.
Anyway, he popped up in my queue because he was doing someone's E11 the other day, and I was going to look at it.
Really?
Yeah, it was one of the other prop shops. Anyway, so if anybody's ever seen it, because the first half of his review is kind of dogging my blaster in the beginning, and then he comes back with a wrap up. It looks like a day or two later he does a wrap up on it, and the tone is totally different. He's like, yeah, from 2 feet away, you can't tell that this is not a real blaster. I'm like, well, yeah.
Half-fast reviews.
Yeah. Is that what it was?
Half-fast reviews.
Half-fast reviews. Hey, do me a favor and pull up my review and post a link to it in the comments. So it's a good review. It seemed like a wishy-washy review in the beginning. He had 2 of my blasters. He had one of my kits, and then he had the Greedo kit. What he had, and he built that. He bought it and built it, and he really liked it. So he came back and bought a DL-44, and he reviewed the DL-44, my DL-44, against a all-metal DL-44 replica that he paid a lot of money for. And And it was a decent review, but I was coming out kind of. I felt like I was losing, because he kept calling this one real and mine fake, but they're both fake. One's resin and one's metal. That was the difference. But he did lay out the cons that his metal replica, you can't get it into a con. He was able to sneak his through the con, but you're really not able to take metal replicas into cons anymore. He also talked about the fact that the metal replica is heavy and it was pulling his gun belt down all weekend long. That was another thing that he talked about. But then he went on, going back and forth, and then he came back later on with a different review or a wrap up to his review, and mine looked much, much more favorable at that point. Thank goodness. Because it's good. It was cool because someone actually reviewed something of ours, which I like that.
All right.
You should start doing more deals like that.
I need to talk to
with,
him.
Like prop YouTubers, like, hey,
because
I'll send you a free one if you review it.
When all that went down, was when my Etsy page was being pulled down at the same time.
Yeah.
So I was kind of bummed and didn't. It was a rough time anyway. So
yeah, stop flagging people.
So the Proton Pack is, I will say, and I said this before, this 3D printer, this is your Ender 5.
Yeah, the one that I have not modified.
He's not allowed to modify. He should not modify anything. But he has the more power, the Tim Allen more power syndrome. He thinks everything can be upgraded and given more power and made better, but they just don't work after he's done.
They do work. They just need a lot of tweaking.
So anyway, I was actually super impressed by the print, and this is a single print. Even though it's two different colors, you switched out filament.
Yeah, I ran out of filament.
So
I'm using all my old filament that's been sitting around for a year.
This is a very nice print. I was actually very impressed by the print. He already has sanded a little bit of it, but my Ender 3 does great work, and this one kind of reminds me of the way that prints, and this is really good. And like I said, this is a big deck, fairly big deck. Like you could, we were talking, you could probably do almost a full size helmet on it.
We have 264 subscribers now.
Cool. By the way, we're thinking about, I'm hoping to hit 300 by Christmas. By Christmas or New year's. What do you think? Christmas? We're going to 300 by Christmas. All right.
Grimace?
We're gaining for everybody that's been out there.
We're painting Matt purple to be the Grimace?
For everybody out there that's been there with us from the very beginning, especially when we started on Facebook, we've been growing. It took us a year. It took 2 years to get to 100. Technically not 2 years, but we were on YouTube for about a year to get to 100. Then it only took about another,
Laffy, how
4
big?
months?
How big? Like this? This was 5 days.
Yeah, that was, but like I said, this is a beautiful print. My Anycubic, my Chiron, doesn't print this nice. This is very nice. What's the
I think I had 60 millimeters a second, something like that is what I got it set up for. I'd have to look at the settings.
I've never, tell you the truth, I like to just go
200
big.
degrees.
I like to go fast.
Oh, you mean the size? It's like 400.
No, I mean,
Clean it up later.
That's exactly right. I'm already going to do cleanup, so I don't worry about trying to fine tune my printer, even though I really should. I really don't. I haven't explored the capabilities of any of my printers. I just kind of find a good average zone to print from and go from there, and then make up all the difference with sanding and.
Well, seeing as how this printer, I started on my daughter's Halo helmet and then dropped the bed and broke it, and it took a month for me to get a new bed, and then I didn't have time to work on it. This is the first real print that I started with this thing.
Really?
Yeah, so I've been tweaking with the settings to try to get it
I'm
and figure out
impressed with it. I mean, you'll probably leave this here tonight, won't you?
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to you about
Leaving stuff?
We're going to have a box.
How am I supposed to mark my territory?
Your territory is not the whole place.
Yes, it is. It's over there and over there.
I will give you space right here. That chair is your territory. Actually, it's the dunce.
That chair hurts.
That chair hurts, but if you get here early enough, you put another chair there. Or get a pillow. So, anyway, like I said, I'm impressed by this printer. I would be super stoked if, like you said, my Ender 3 does print like this. And I was talking to him. It's running ABS right now, and I'm thinking about switching that one over as my primary smaller PLA printer because I'm happy with the way it works. And I've only been printing ABS, and I really should be printing PLA through it.
Well, this I printed on 2 separate Ender 3s. The problem was they were 2 separate Ender 3s.
So the parts didn't match quite.
Didn't quite match, yeah.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, very funny.
Hayden,
one project, one printer. That's my suggestion.
Hayden started printing a Deutschland class battle cruiser.
Heavy cruiser.
Heavy cruiser. What is that? A couple years ago?
Yeah, it's like 2-3 years ago.
So it
came out good.
It's great. It's great. But the problem is, I realized
the model I was using didn't have portholes.
Well, there are a few things.
That's what killed it for me. I didn't want to do the portholes.
He noticed that the model didn't. I noticed the model didn't have portholes, and the original ship did, and so he lost all enthusiasm for it. But I was scared to death because I believe the fully printed ship was going to be like, 13 feet long or something?
I did the math on it. To the scale. It was still like 109 scale.
It was going to be bigger. It was going to be longer than this table.
And we would have put motors into it.
The turrets were this big.
Yeah, the
turrets were huge.
That was the first. We could have put metal sleeves, steel sleeves inside the guns and put blanks in them. You could have been the coolest.
Cool.
I came home and found a turret.
Electric motors for the turret.
I came home and found
a turret. And in summertime, we'd have to go to Eden Park.
I came home and
put it in the water, send it out to go against the other sailboats.
And the size of the turret scared me. And then the next time I came home, I found the bow. And then I got really worried. I was like, holy cow. It's at the full width of the print bed almost, and it's not even the full width of the ship.
From the keel to the deck, it was the entire package.
It was like this big, and it wasn't even back to where the anchors were. Where the anchors hang off, it was, I was like, this is going to be, and then we started, he told me.
It's like that guy who printed his own kayak from a Persa printer.
It's kind of like that, but it was.
The entire thing is still sliced.
Yeah, it's sliced, ready to print, and then.
I have every model I need for it.
I got on board, and then.
Yes, Jeff. Yes, we should do that.
I had Rodney gifted me a resin 3D printer, which is actually to my left because I use it to print out some of the very fine Blaster Greeblies. But anyway, I started printing out the AA guns for this ship on the resin printer because to get higher detail, we're starting to slice.
The printer.
We were going and finding the files for the guns that should be on the ship and then printing them separate in the proper scale. And so I had like AA guns that were like the 20.
This tall.
Yeah, they're like the
20 millimeters.
The 20 millimeter. The man operated 20 mils. Yeah, they're like that big. I was like, this thing is going to be where the heck are we going to put this? It's like we're gonna have to hang this from your ceiling in your bedroom.
We put it on top of the shelf where the projector is.
I think it would be the most epic way to annoy everybody at the lake in the summer.
It'd hit the ceiling. Anyway,
you're right. Actually, yeah.
So, speaking of Rodney projects, how is the Mandalorian's brain coming?
The Mandalorian's brain is coming along very well. I figured out the timing issues. We're going to have to test sound, but we're pretty damn close.
So, are we ready? Are you ready to like start? When we were speccing out the original brain, we sat tandemly on one side of the table to the other side of the table, and we were testing all the functions without actually having the model itself, like the functions of the actuator, popping the solenoids, making the arm come up, and the voice activate, all the voice cues and all that stuff. Are we at that point?
Not quite. I need some files from Matt. Oh, I made alternate voice.
Oh no, we're not doing the retarded pew pew shit. I don't want to do that. We're not doing
I
that.
need to test out those dip switches.
Well, Matt is the person to test out a dip switch.
And I need to build one more timer board and possibly add another capacitor to the board to give it a little bit more time. But yeah,
Okay.
we're almost there.
Can I take the little one in the right? What's it called? It's like Phoenix something. What's it called?
What are you
Phoenix
talking about?
connector?
The little 3D printer.
The Ender 3.
Ender. I knew it sounded like fire.
That's the one I'm talking about. Switching.
Got a
over.
dragon on it.
Ender, Ember.
Yeah. That's the one I was wanting to switch over to running PLA. What I was talking about is bringing the Ender 3 down here to replace Frankenprinter.
I was gonna take it hostage for one of my schemes.
Well, you can take it hostage, grab a roll of white ABS, and knock yourself out.
Okay, I'll do that.
I have no
That's
plans.
something I wanna print.
I have no plans for it right now.
I think you will.
Huh?
When you see it, you're gonna be like, "Oh my god!" why
Dude,
did you
okay,
print that?"
don't come up with something that requires 10 rolls of filament.
It's not gonna require 10 rolls. It's actually sliced perfectly to where I only need to do 2 prints.
Coming from the guy who was printing a
Serious?
Deutschland heavy cruiser that was 13 feet long.
Once he got past the A turret section, they were cut into 2 quadrants. So you had to print them like that and that.
It'll be
I remember when
fine.
it was sitting down here, parts of it.
Yeah.
And
'cause
he's
he
like,
had the
it's going to be
printers.
massive. Oh my God.
He had printers down here. I'm like, I'm in Kentucky and I'm coming home and there's more battleship pieces. I'm like, what is he?
I'm technically...
You know how when you have a puppy and the vet says, look at the size of those paws, this is going to be a gigantic dog. I've been looking at the turrets thinking, this is going to be a gigantic model.
Honestly,
Now, okay, do you want to collaborate on something? PT boat, torpedo boat? Because I want to make working torpedoes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
One
Kinda like
One project at a time.
I could totally get models for PT boats.
Yeah, and then I'm thinking about how to do the torpedoes. We'll run them on CO2
Uh-huh.
and then just bang the end of the little CO2 canister in there. They'll probably have to be weighted right or they'll porpoise. But yeah, and then we could shoot things at the regatta.
Well, torpedoes.
You know, there is a whole group of nuts in Australia that you would love because there's a group of guys in Australia. Dude, they've got U-boats that fire torpedoes and they run them in a bathtub and simulate World War II battles at RC conventions. This one guy has an airdrop torpedo.
You had me at warheads.
Do they have little parachute?
Dude, they have little explosions and smoke and the ships sink. They're sinking Liberty ships and
That's cool.
oh yeah, look that up. There's also a group in England that does the same thing with tanks.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
All right.
I'm gonna have to read. I don't know how to change filament in print, so.
The Ender 3 does not have a filament sensor,
Yeah, so you have to babysit it.
so you have to babysit it. So if you have some small throwaway prints, that's exactly the time to do it right now because it is
Yeah.
very low. But I
Well-
remember I got that top shelf. Now,
I got something
remember,
that might help you.
do not use the PLA because it's set up for
I know,
ABS.
I know.
And remember you like those boxes?
Yeah.
So you put 2 or 3 rolls of PLA up on the thing.
I've got a PLA dryer with a built-in scale.
Uh-huh.
so you can see when you're running out and know when to switch over.
Oh.
I can bring that up for you.
Well, that thing uses the roll is like hanging, suspended.
Yeah, it's hanging above.
Yeah, the way I've got it set up usually is I've got my dryers up top. I got a shelf system because I've got a direct drive on the enders that comes directly down.
Hey, did you know I got a new tool in the mail?
Yeah, something to say about like butt kneading. What was that called?
Knurling.
Knurling.
Nurgle, the god of disease?
If anyone out there is familiar with knurling,
Nurgle.
I discovered a new tool. It's not new to me. Apparently, they've been around forever. But anyway, if you remember when I was working on the A&H DL-44 project, and that was the first project I bought one specific piece of tooling to make that part or make a part for it, and the piece of tooling I bought was a straight knurling tool. Yeah, knurling. Anyway, when you knurl, basically knurling is when you add some sort of a texture to help you for grippy stuff. It's like screws, thumb screws, ratchets have knurling on them. Anyway. I did not know this tool existed. And the thing I do not like about knurling is you put your tool in, you chuck it up in the machine, you level it, and then you push really hard into the piece while it's in the lathe. One, it's not good for the bearings of the lathe. Two, if the piece is a longer piece or whatever, you can bend whatever you're working on. And I discovered there's a thing called a pinch knurling tool.
Yeah, when we were in school, all we had were ones with the most technical ones had the hashing one way and hashing the other way, two wheels, and they were right next to each other.
And they interlock it, and that's what I have. And then I have a single wheel one that does the straight long line. So
yes, I went to school.
This tool clamps down and pinches tight on the part, taking the stress off the tool post and all the bearings, and it just grabs the piece and lets the piece spin inside. So it grabs the piece, it won't push the piece left, right, or whatever. You get the wheels center, then crank them down tight, and it starts knurling.
Like a pipe cutter.
Similar to a pipe cutter, yeah, but not really. Thanks, Rodney.
It's for cutting pipe.
This is for knurling.
I bet I can cut pipe with it.
I was like, I can't believe there's a tool that, that takes the worst part of knurling, which is that pressure you have to put on the part. Once you crank this thing down and get your pressure proper, as you move, the tension won't change because you clamp down on the part. As I move and the piece tends to bow or move away from me, I got to increase the tension. It's been very difficult to maintain a consistent knurling pattern over a distance.
Oh, this is like when I first tried to make my own high-speed steel cutoff.
Yeah,
and I burned it up.
Yeah.
It needs to go tighter.
I took my high-speed cutoff tool and I narrowed it for the DT-12 honeycomb flash suppressor. I narrowed it to as narrow as I could make it to still function as a cutoff tool. But now it's so thin that it cuts that honeycomb or that pattern that's on the DT-12 flash suppressor. Oh boy. But anyway, I'm actually super excited. I'm looking for a new knurling project.
Maybe a wand for Matt.
You know what I'm going to...
Tactical wand.
In my free time, you know what I'm going to be working on?
Knurling?
You have a Picatinny rail
on it. No, yes and no.
And a Holosun?
This project, the project I am thinking about doing in my spare time, and yes, I have a project for you. You talking to me, Jeff?
It's not like he's got plenty of
I want to do
Yeah, we're all kind of full on.
All right, what
projects
is
right
it?
now, Jeff.
What is it, Jeff?
We've discussed like 8 projects.
Yeah, we got lots of projects.
Are you going to say Han and Carbonite?
Yeah, come on, do it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Is this your card?
I'm psychotic or something.
Yes, Jeff. I am actually 100% on board with remaking some of the knobs on for the Han and Carbonite out of aluminum. Aluminum. You know, here's another thing I learned. This tells you how close I've looked. Only most of the control panels are painted black on the hard.
Black as night, black as coal.
Black. They're painted black, and then only I think 1 or 2 are painted silver on Han and Carbonite.
He gets the joke.
So anyway, plenty of, yes, that is a perfect project for knurling, Jeff. And I am more than happy to, even though I found some very good knurling files of knurled parts for the Han and Carbonite. All right, yeah. You ready to wrap up?
Yeah, sure.
So am I. So, next week, hopefully we'll be demolding the DL-21, the new DL-21 parts. Actually, just not long ago, I made a whole new greebly mold for fresh DL-21 parts. So we've got a lot of good parts ready for this. Speederbike. Hopefully we'll have updates, and we're probably next week. I'll definitely have one section, whether it's the body, the front end, or whatever of the Speederbike in here in the shop, and we'll discuss parts in this and maybe some of the work that we maybe will get done this week on it. So that'll be coming up next week also. And don't forget, the end of the month, the 29th, we'll be giving away the DL-21. It will be, the DL-21. It'll be your choice of Hoth or Return of the Jedi, Lieutenant Rand's You Rebel Scum version. And
Marita rifle?
And we'll be playing Family Feud. So if you don't know Family Feud, go back and find an old episode where we gave away and played Family Feud. It's fun, it's exciting, and you really don't have to have that much Star Wars knowledge, because the people polled
don't either.
Obviously, the 100 people polled did not also have a lot of Star Wars knowledge. And besides that, I'm done. What do you got to add? Will Matt be back next week? We don't know. Will Rodney still be here next week?
We don't know.
We don't know.
Well, the closer we get to the holidays, the less likely I am to travel. And I wish that was true with Matt as well.
Yes, we do very much so wish that was with Matt. No, Straka, I have not sent that out yet. I it's boxed up, but every time I go to the post office, there's a gosh darn line.
Now I got that Guar song stuck in my head.
And then what actually happens is I have a bunch of Etsy packages at the same time, but the Etsy packages already have prepaid labels. So I'm sorry, yours stays in the car, and the Etsy ones go to the front of the line. And then the next time I go to the post office, I hope that.
Is this going to be another thing of me having to drive around to different post offices because it's close to winter?
Straka, you're up in what? Akron?
Christmas.
You're close to Akron.
Cleveland.
Nah, Cleveland, Akron, you know.
North.
Sandusky. I think he's in Sandusky.
That's all north.
Sign off.
No, we're about. I want to find out where he's from.
He can tell you after.
Straka. Cleveland.
I was right.
Oh, all right, Cleveland.
I pay attention sometimes.
Is that the kill?
Is that Cleveland proper or like a suburb? What suburb? Where do you actually live besides Cleveland?
I am not driving to
Trying
Cleveland.
to get the coordinates.
Yeah,
The Tomahawk is on the way.
Last time I was in Cleveland,
Dude, we don't have enough money for a Tomahawk. It's a Scud.
It's not even a Scud. It's a V2.
last time I was in Cleveland, somebody tried to carjack me. It was glorious.
Oh, Brooklyn. Okay. So obviously, we've already had the discussion that I grew up in Westlake, and my best friend lived in Bay Village. Obviously, I know we've had this before.
TLAM away.
Oh, but my best friend that lived in Bay Village, his parents bought a private airport in Avon. Yeah. I used to go about 10 minutes from there. You know, when I lived up there, it was the murder capital of the country, and the Cuyahoga River was on fire. And on that note, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.